Welcome to the Eversio Experience podcast. I'm Brandy Garden, the co-founder of Eversio Wellness, and I'm here with my co-host, Desiree Caruso, who has a background in naturopathic medicine.
We're here to talk all about the world of mushroom wellness because mushrooms are critical to the maintenance of our physical well-being and our collective mental health.
We believe mushrooms are symbols of interconnectedness, and we're so excited to connect you with the health, wellness, and wisdom that they have brought us on our journey to this moment.
Our ancestors had deep cultural connections to mushrooms, but today they remain understudied, undervalued, and often misunderstood by much of modern society.
So we are here to change that. Eversio means change, and it's our mission to change lives through fungi.
There is a mushroom for every moment.
And we're so glad you're here to share this moment with us. If you thought Dr. Desiree and I were obsessed with mushroom wellness, today you are going to meet our match. Perhaps the only other Canadian woman as mushroom mad as we are, the incredible Chloe Williams, founder of Eunoia Wellness. Chloe is an award-winning nutritionist and passionate holistic health expert who has transformed her own life by overcoming chronic gut health issues. Her journey led her to lose 50 pounds and regain her contagious energy, and she now helps others achieve similar transformations. Through her work, Chloe empowers women to take control of their health with a special focus on addressing the root cause, you know how we feel about that, of their chronic illness, particularly through gut health and hormone balance. In addition to running her thriving wellness business, Chloe has become a sensation, I can say that, on TikTok because she today, when I looked, has over 860,000 followers over there. You're going to hit 1 million, girl.
I hope so.
If you are not one of those followers, you need to be, because she is one of the first TikTok personalities that I actually encouraged my own teenage daughter to follow. And it's because Chloe tells it like it is. She teaches women of all ages, young and old like me, what they didn't learn in school about their own bodies, but should have. Chloe is well known in the wellness industry for helping hundreds of women reclaim their vitality. And today she is going to be sharing her insights on gut health and how mushrooms have changed the game for her and many of her happy clients. So, Chloe, welcome to the show. We are so incredibly happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. I am so happy to be here. I absolutely love you guys. You know that, but I'm excited to be on your podcast now and share my love for Eversio with everybody else as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Awesome.
I'm so excited. Chloe, can we start off by filling in our audience a little bit more about who you are and how you ended up in the world of holistic wellness?
I, as Brandy mentioned, have my own journey through my own health story. And mine takes me back to probably actually back as far as I can remember when I was a child. I used to suffer from extreme constipation. Now, I didn't know at the time that that was an issue. My mom probably had no clue that that was an issue. But it wasn't until I became a nutritionist and started digging deep into my own health story and started looking back, like when did all of my symptoms start, that I realized that my symptoms started when I was really young. And so it was probably about maybe grade 9 when I started experiencing really deep cystic acne, and I was put on Accutane, and that is a very, very damaging drug to the gut microbiome for those who do not know. And I stayed on that for a long time. Now, that drug is so damaging to your gut microbiome that I actually had to go with my mom every single month to get a pregnancy test. So I would walk in. It was not just pee on a stick, it was a real blood test that had to prove I was not pregnant. I had to take the results from that pregnancy test to the pharmacy, and then they would administer the next round of medication.
Wow.
That was every single month. So that probably should have told both my mom and I at the time that this was not a medication to fool around with, but I was really determined to clear my acne. I was self-conscious about it. It was deep, it was cystic, and I wanted it gone. So I stayed on that for a long period of time. After that, a few years later, I went to university where I partook in a lot of drinking and socializing. I was living off of cafeteria food, which we all know is not very good for you. I definitely put on weight there. And then I kind of just continued on my life journey. I got pregnant. I had my daughter, and after she was born, I think it was in like the first 24 hours of being home that every single joint in my entire body was so incredibly painful that I ended up having to go to a chiropractor. And that might not sound that crazy to anybody who's just listening, but I was one of those moms who was like, I am never letting my child out of my sight ever. So to need to go somewhere within 24 hours away from her to get help just to be able to move was huge. And that was maybe a turning point where I realized like I really, really need help at this point in time. I couldn't bend over to pick her up out of her crib. I would wake up in the morning and I would have to roll my ankles and like I felt like I was 90. Like I don't know how to describe it any other way. I couldn't just jump out of bed. It felt like my foot would snap in half. That's how sore my joints were. So I ended up going to the doctor, and I probably spent about a year searching for answers, and nobody had any. On paper, I had perfect blood work. So, and as far as the doctors were concerned, I was perfectly healthy. I had nothing to worry about. I was a new mom and I was filled with anxiety. And I knew deep down that I was not suffering from anxiety. What I had was not just in my head, but I could not find an answer for it. And the brain fog was getting worse and worse and worse. I used to read a lot and then I never liked reading anymore because I literally couldn't remember what I had just read like one page before. So the story wouldn't stick in my head, which was annoying from like a reading for pleasure perspective, but also when you're trying to research what's wrong with you, it's really hard to research if you can't think. So that was frustrating. And so the symptoms just progressively got worse and worse and worse. I became more inflamed. I became more irritable. My joint pain was getting worse. And this was just like not what I had imagined motherhood to be. I always wanted to be a mom. This wasn't it. Like to be told you're a new mom, this is what it is. That I didn't accept that as an answer. So I had my first encounter with a naturopathic doctor, and that was the first time that I had ever sat somewhere and they listened to me. And I remember it distinctly, the conversation. I told her, yeah, Desiree, I told her that if she would let me, I would prove to her how tired I was. It would just take 2 minutes. I would close my eyes and I could fall asleep sitting right there in her chair. And I was kind of joking, but I had made the same joke with a medical doctor previously, and they just laughed me off. And this was the first one who said, like, that's really concerning. Let's look into this. And she did way more blood work than had ever been done before. And I left that appointment feeling like someone is going to finally not just give me an answer, but they're going to help me. So it wasn't long after that that I got a diagnosis of a candida overgrowth, which is an overgrowth of yeast. And every single symptom that I just listed to you guys is a side effect of a candida overgrowth. That candida overgrowth had probably gone on from the first round of Accutane that I had been on. And it had just progressively gotten worse because candida does not just clear up on its own. It is something that requires dietary changes, lifestyle changes, targeted supplementation, detoxification, like the list goes on. So what's funny about that is it kind of sounds crazy to think like I want an answer, I want a diagnosis, I want somebody to tell me what's wrong with me. Like someone telling you have great lab work sounds good, but when you don't feel good and you know it's not all in your head, I was so happy. So happy to have a diagnosis validated. Yeah. And I finally felt like, okay, everything about me makes sense now. Like I finally have an answer. So I did continue working with that naturopathic doctor. I still love her and her team. They are my kids' naturopathic doctor. We still go to her. But I ended up feeling like I'm never leaving my own health in someone else's hands ever again. It took me way too long to get here. And so I immediately went home. I enrolled myself in the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition. I went through school while I was this brand new mom, not sleeping, had all these symptoms. And so as much as I credit her to me overcoming all of those issues, I I can't even tell you the amount of time that I spent researching and taking school seriously. And I never knew that I would become the nutritionist that I am today. I more so went into it knowing like this is so important for me and my daughter at the time and any future children that I had, that I want to know properly how nutrition works and how it plays such an important role in our life. So I went to school, I graduated with merit. I came out of there. I started a small little wellness business in Whitby where I was working just with women who live in my neighborhood, started posting on Instagram. And then TikTok came out. I started posting on TikTok. Nothing really happened at first. I joined a wellness clinic here. I was loving the clinic. I finally had a team of other naturopathic doctors and massage therapists and chiropractors and nutritionists that I was working with. And I finally felt like, oh my gosh, I have found my place. Like, this is where I belong. And then I posted a video on TikTok about candida overgrowth, and literally overnight, my entire life changed. And I think I went from like 1,000 followers to 10,000 followers to 50,000 followers to 100,000 followers. And it just kept going. So after that, I actually don't take on one-to-one clients anymore. It's crazy for me to say this, but my schedule was jam-packed. I didn't have time to do it all anymore. And I love, like, deeply love working with women. I want to teach as many women as I possibly can how to understand the symptoms that their body is trying to tell them. And so I do still work with women through my now program called the Ultimate Gut Transformation Program. And so women come, they do the program, and then I support them through that. So that's where we're at now. Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, so many similarities between both what brought Desiree and I here to Eversio Wellness. But like, so much to unpack there. I love that you
Yes.
took the adversity in your life at the time and turned it into what you could bring to the world to help others. And I think that's so the story of so many women today in this business and how we got here. And okay, I have to know, in the beginning of the story, you said you were going to university, eating cafeteria food. What did you originally go to school for if it wasn't nutrition?
Oh, good question. I went to school for communications. And yeah, I will say that it was fine. I think I was just going through the motions. I didn't love it. I never
Hadn't
felt
found
drawn to
yourself yet.
it. I had not found myself at all. And so this was just something that I was brought up thinking, you have to go to university after high school. This is where you're going. And
Yeah.
that's the program I'm going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I bet the things that you learned there along that way, as short or long as it was, have come to help you. There were also things you needed in order to be, because communication is your
Yes. Yes.
is your zone of genius.
It's
And
true.
that makes me, so another question for you is that, so really what you explained and what you did, lots of other women have done it on some other scale, realized that what they were doing for work was not connected to their purpose, to their passion. And they knew that their own healing journey was something they wanted to share, and therefore they had to go and get a certification, and becoming a holistic nutritionist is available to us in Canada. I think we have 6 schools across
Yes.
Canada that offer these certifications. So many of these women end up talking about it through social media because it's such a great vehicle for sharing information freely. But the way you do it is so different. What do you think it is about this unique way that you share your passion that has gained you this massive following? We've watched that first video. It's not, like you were this genius social media. It's not anything that any one of us couldn't have done. But there's something unique about what you took from what you learned there and maybe what you've learned along the way to really make people listen to what you have to say. And you have so much to say. Like I said, my daughter is somebody that I'm not going to be able to ever get her off of social media. I waited as long as I could. She is 13. This is
Yeah.
where so many teenagers are going for their information, which is horrifying to me, to be honest, because
Yeah.
it's not all great information. But you are someone that is really saying things that are making people listen, and thank goodness, because it's good stuff. So what is it? What's the secret sauce?
Thank you. Well, I think what I'm going to say to that is that first and foremost, I got a little bit of luck from an algorithm. From that, what's funny about that first video that I posted that blew up overnight is that it came with, like, I was just I still think of myself as just like your regular suburb girl. And I had never been on a global stage like that ever before, where people were just able to tell me all their thoughts and feelings about me in one little place. Thanks, sorry. So that was the first time that overnight I had just had so many comments come at me. And I remember just like wanting to delete it. And I just thought, this isn't for me. I don't want this. I don't like this. And my husband was like, do not delete that. What are you doing? This is what everybody online is trying to do. So I didn't delete it, but I also didn't look at it. I wanted to run away and hide under a rock. And I hated the attention that probably first week or month, to be honest with you. And then I realized, okay, I now have a platform and I have a message that I care deeply about. I am extremely passionate about, and I believe wholeheartedly in everything that I teach and put on TikTok. So if someone was to go to my account today with the 860,000 followers that I do have, I can tell you my inbox is flooded on a daily basis with, can you promote this and can you promote that? And we'll send you this for free and we'll pay you this. And it's the money's good. Like, it's great. I say no to almost all of it. You can go to my page right now. There's not very many things on there that I promote because it's really important to me that my brand and the education that I teach on there is true to what I believe in. So my message has always been heartfelt, I think, for starters. I've never done something out of just trying to get attention or views. I've always done it with a goal in mind, kind of Brandy, like what you just said. Like, I want a young woman or someone who's struggling with their health to come to my page and find hope and inspiration and an answer. And it might not be their exact answer, but it might be an answer or kind of a point in a direction that they can go find more information in. For example, I didn't even know what a candida overgrowth was when I had it. I had never ever heard of that word.
Yep.
So if someone comes to my page and they hear like, oh, this is what SIBO is, that's what candida is, this is
Yeah.
why an anti-inflammatory diet is so important, then I consider that a win. The second thing is that I know that every single person who's on my page has access to a smartphone. I know that they can go and Google. I know that they can read. They are already sitting on a phone. So I'm not trying to teach them something that they can't have access to. What I understand about social media is that I have 2 or 3 minutes. That's a long time, by the way, for someone to stay on a video. So if they've stuck around for the whole video, like, that was a win for me. I only have 2 or 3 minutes to teach them something. I'm not going to teach them in a scientific way. I'm not going to teach them in a way that they can go and Google it. I want to make it understandable, digestible. I want them to quickly, usually you'll see in a lot of my videos if you watch them that I teach through analogies. I think it's important because in my one-to-one work, people, you can say whatever you want to someone, but the second you give them a good analogy, like when they're in the kitchen and they're kind of trying to make a dietary choice, it's the analogy that pops back into your head, right? It's the same thing when you're putting out a TikTok video and you're trying to compete not only for a view, but also for someone to come back to your page and look at your page and remember your name. Like, what are they remembering about you? And for me, I want it to be information that is trustworthy and knowledgeable and easily digestible.
Yeah, humanity plus. It's
Yeah.
to me that the things that you're saying are just making people better. And if you can give them a way to remember it, their
Right.
life is going to improve every
Right.
time that comes back to them. And
Yeah.
that is what really landed for us the first time we saw you for sure. Amazing.
And I think
Yeah.
we definitely relate to that too, because for us, education is so important,
Mhm.
right? If you can educate people on things about their body so that they can make their own informed decisions about themselves and their body, they're going to make those good decisions to
Yeah.
improve their health, right? And so
Yeah.
I think if more people were educating on our body and symptoms and all of these things in a really, like you said, easily digestible way, I think a
Mhm.
lot of people would feel better. And it's just so amazing to see the education and the enthusiasm and the analogies. Like, it's fun to watch them, but you're also learning. I think you're very talented in that way. So
Thank
I love
you.
it. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
let's talk about gut health, because that is totally your niche, and you have your own personal health story related to gut health too. Why don't you give us the basics of why you think gut health is such a huge factor in changing the game for women today, and, give our audience your favorite gut healing tips?
Okay.
Spill it.
All right. So, first and foremost, if your gut is not happy, nothing is happy in your whole entire body.
Yeah.
And you might not know it right away, but you will know it eventually through symptoms. And that's because the gut it's the command center for every single thing that your body does. I always think of it, and here's a prime example of how I teach. It's an analogy, but I always think of it as like the ultimate quarterback. It calls the shots on everything from how your skin looks to how your digestion is working to how often you're going to the bathroom to are you absorbing the nutrients from the food that you're eating.
Mm.
It's also home to 70% of your immune system.
Yeah.
So if things are off balance in the gut, if you have constipation or IBS-D, if you are feeling nauseous all the time or you have stomach pain, Well, that's going to impact your immune system as well, and everything is just going to start feeling off. So I think when it comes to gut health, and again, this is what I preach all the time, we live in a world where it's so quick to want to shut the symptoms up, right? We're bloated. How do we fix bloating? How do we stop that? Where's the supplement to just take and stop the
Yeah.
bloating? Why don't we just dive a little bit deeper and figure out why we're bloating in the first place and how to fix that problem instead of just taking the supplement? And
Great
there
point.
is no one out there who is coming to rescue us, right? It's
Yes.
our gut doesn't have a voice. It's not going to say, stick its hand up and be like, hey, so I am bloating all the time, and that's because I have low stomach acid. I need some more, right? It's not going to do that. So it becomes our job and our responsibility to say, hey, every time I'm bloated or I eat food, I'm feeling bloated. Why is that? And we live in a world where, the marketing teams are out there being like, oh, take this tea, take this supplement, it'll stop your
Yeah.
bloating. But really, if we start asking deeper questions about why every time I eat food am I starting to bloat, what is causing that? Then that's when we can start fixing the problem before it turns into a massive problem. And I can kind of compare that to it's like a little kind of bonfire that's always burning. And when that gets out of control, we don't listen to those symptoms, then we have a full blown forest fire. And that's when the problems, that's what was happening in my body. And it's like, okay, now we have so much more work than if we had just dealt with it back as a child as a constipation, gets more fiber in there, right?
Yeah.
Or right after those antibiotics I was taking, let's get some good probiotics back in there and fix the problem before we go on 10 more years. So I didn't know how to listen back then. And so that's kind of my purpose now is to teach women how to listen because whatever is making one person bloat, for example, is not the same thing that's making someone else bloat,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So
Do
it's
not
it's your own
confuse.
body. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I love that so much. And I think that for sure for me was the root cause. And I was so far, there were so many layers for me
Mhm.
to get back to gut health. But even after I had, I knew I had to come off of a pharmaceutical, much like you. I took a pharmaceutical for 13 years that made me actually feel great in one way. It
Yeah.
took away some symptoms that were really inconvenient for me, but it was causing side effects that now I needed another pharmaceutical to address the side effects of the first
Right.
pharmaceutical. And I could see that was going to be this never ending path for me
Yeah.
when I got honest with myself and started to peel back, like what you're saying. I wasn't just addressing this symptom anymore. I thought I had the answer by just getting
Mhm.
off of the pharmaceutical. And I still wasn't recognizing that the reason I had the autoimmune condition show up in the first place was likely a leaky gut. And
Right.
I had never heard the term. Gut health was just not even in my world. And
Yeah.
as I, started to heal and then really started to heal my gut because I was healing so many other things. I really
Yeah.
wanted to heal my brain first. We all have mental health things, traumas, things that we know we have to address up front. When I got deep enough to go, oh my gosh, this was the very beginning. And often we are looking at childhood.
Yeah.
That's when, like you're saying, everything really changed for me. And then what I hear you saying too is something that Desiree says to me all the time. You have to be the CEO of your own health, not putting it in someone else's hands because, like you're saying, no one else can hear
Right.
real you. And when you get still and you listen, we're all going to get those messages from
Yep.
the gut to the
Yep.
heart to the head. This is where it's happening.
Yeah.
Okay, love it so much. We have to also talk about hormone health. So this is the other thing that you give such great analogies. You're always flashing amazing research. You could be the hormone queen out there as well. And it's interesting how you tie the gut health and the hormone health together. So I there is a TikTok post you have out called, it is titled Cervical Mucus Explained. Something you don't see everywhere. And when I looked this morning, it has almost 6 million views today. Clearly people want to learn more about topics like this and nobody else is talking about it. And I love how you straight up tell your viewers that since the education system is failing us by not teaching us about such an important topic, you are going to educate them. It's exactly how we feel about the kingdom fungi over here. Give us the goods. Give us the goods on what your clients are coming to you for most when it comes to hormones and your favorite advice to give them when it comes to addressing this and how you are inspired to be so, upfront about things like cervical mucus that I'm going to be honest. I was grade 5 elementary school teacher for many years. I was Desiree's teacher. I did not teach Desiree about cervical mucus. Is for sure not in the curriculum. And I never even would have thought about how it could affect these young, and I taught grade
Mhm.
7 for a while. So I had 12, 13-year-old girls that if they knew that, that one grade 7 girl who was pregnant in grade 7, these things might not have happened if we were not so really embarrassed and,
Right.
felt like these things were such taboo when really this is our human body. 50% of the population is dealing with cervical mucus. So tell us about why hormone health became important to you and has become part of the message, and how you feel about sharing things that are so really rare out there.
Well, first of all, who knew that talking about what your body should be doing would blow up like that? Like, in my opinion, that's a little bit ridiculous to start with. But it really kind of just highlights the fact is how like in the dark we've been about our own health and our own bodies. And so one thing about me that I've learned over the years, I had children younger than a lot of my friends, and I had health issues that a lot of people that I knew weren't going through. You know, people go through the same things as each other. So as soon as one person opens up, everybody else comes out of the woodwork and says something about it too. And that's what happened in that video. People were commenting saying I didn't know this, or I did know this, or I didn't learn this until I was this age. And it's something that we can kind of all rally around together because that is literally how women's bodies work. Half of us are dealing with something like this is happening to us all the time. It can't be something that we're all so shy about. The thing that inspired me to make that video in the first place was actually a client that had come to me who had been treating herself and her doctor had been treating her for recurrent yeast infections for years. And it turned out through just looking at her cycle on a period app that the discharge that they thought was related to a yeast infection was actually just her cervical mucus on the day of ovulation. And so
Thank you,
it was,
Western medical
yeah.
advice.
So the amount of like medication and stress that she had gone through, I can't even tell you, both of us were just sitting there like, can this be right? And I was almost questioning myself. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, she's been told by a medical doctor multiple times that this is recurrent every single month for almost a year. I don't know that I'm ready, that we're like questioning ourselves, but I knew like, no, it's the day of her ovulation that this stuff is showing up and she's going to the doctor and she's being told she's having yeast infections. This is not right. So that's what inspired me to make that video from the start. But I think you were asking me, what am I seeing in my own clients on top of yeast infections, which aren't always yeast infections. It's interesting because, as you mentioned, I deal a lot with the gut and hormones, and they are deeply connected with each other. So a lot of my clients come to me in the beginning for deep, complex gut issues. That's kind of what I'm known for in the gut world, is the stuff that nobody else really wants to touch, like a deep candida overgrowth, for example. That's what I had. So I have experience working with that, or SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, right? These are things that are definitely able to be fixed, but require time and patience and the right approach to deal with them. And you need to know what you're dealing with in order to deal with them. H. pylori is another one. So all of these things are starting in the gut, but your hormones are also produced in the gut. And so the longer imbalance goes on in there, the more likely it is to impact hormones. And so then I will also get a lot of women who are dealing with irregular periods. And usually when I'm working with those women, the irregular period is an issue for them, but often it's because they're wanting to fix that in order to have good fertility and go out and make a baby. That's kind of the point where I see them, because they've already been working with a doctor or whoever, and they haven't had the success that they're looking for. And now they're like, wait, I need a regular period in order to get pregnant.
Yeah.
So it kind of always works back to the gut. You can't fix hormones without fixing gut. You can't fix gut without fixing hormones. You kind of have to support all of it under the same umbrella.
The awakening of interconnectedness. All of us
Yes,
in the world, and all
totally.
of the parts of our
Yeah.
body. Like, we can't deny it anymore. Everything
No.
is connected, especially within you. You were built perfectly, but you got to get back to this
That's right.
balance, and the imbalance unfortunately is something you probably created on your own. And
Right.
when we can convince people to stop blaming themselves or feeling shame about the fact that they were part of the problem, the faster we can get to these issues. And when you get your gut balanced and you get your hormones balanced, you really start living your life and you start looking like you, Chloe.
Absolutely.
Like if you're watching
Oh,
this,
thank you.
so some people are just listening, they can't see your glow, but we could tell you like you are
Mhm.
the picture of health. And it's not because you're, I mean, we see you out there running. We know you're moving your body. We know you're sleeping. We know you're doing all of the things. But
Mhm.
I think, when we see someone who looks like they're in good health, and if we did send them for blood work, if we did send them for all kinds of tests, that's what we would find out about them. Their gut health
That's right.
is balanced and their hormones are balanced. And that's
Yeah.
looks beautiful out in the world and it feels great inside the body. So I love that you talk about both. We have lots of friends in the wellness space, and I think it's a wonderful thing that people have really niched down and found one thing to really focus on, because we need that. We need experts.
Yeah.
Like us over here, we're not a supplement company. We're a mushroom company, because we knew we're not experts on everything, and we're not, to be honest, passionate about everything. And
Yeah.
when you can narrow down on what you're passionate about, it just works. But you take the two, and there's not a video that I watch and I'm like, what's it going to be today? And how is there possibly anything else for her to say? But you find an analogy that makes me look at something or think about something within myself differently. And I love how you've tied them together and connected
Oh,
them.
thank
That's
you.
amazing.
Mhm.
We were both also sitting over there glowing, by the way. I think it's all that trouble.
I think
Yes,
I
it
think-
is.
I think
Yeah.
it is, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you shared the story behind that cervical mucus video, because some people who come across that video, or maybe who are looking at your page now because they're curious, okay, who is this woman that we're hearing on this podcast? And they see that video, there are so many people who can probably relate to that story in some way, right? The three of us here, we absolutely can relate to that, and feeling like we're not getting the support that we need. And unfortunately, as women in society, the ways of women and our cycle is not often conducive to work environments or
Yeah.
life, right? So the fact that, this woman is coming to you saying, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening. I'm having these recurrent yeast infections," but it's actually just a normal physiological process. So many women can relate to that. And I think that it's so powerful for women and just others in general who are dealing with, a health journey, so to speak. I think it's amazing to have somebody who is there to hold your hand and say, "No, you're not crazy. Let's get to the bottom of this."
Yeah.
And providing them the tools to be able to educate themselves, and then also to feel good in their own body. Because when you're aligned and you feel connected within your own body, right? Life is so much different, right? There's that
Totally.
joy. You can trust your body.
Yeah.
I love that story, and I think so many people, it will resonate with so many people. Shifting gears here in terms of functional mushrooms, how did you first hear about Eversio wellness, and when did you start incorporating functional mushrooms into your own life?
So I have been taking functional mushrooms for years. I honestly don't even know how many years it's been. A long, long time. They've been part of my supplement routine. I was not buying Eversio until I had heard of Eversio, obviously. But I will say that I think, okay, well, the reason that I got into them in the first place was because mushrooms became, and they still are, very trendy in the health world. And there was all these documentaries on Netflix, and they're fascinating. And I don't think that anybody who learns about the power of mushrooms could not be fascinated by them. If you're not into mushrooms, I think that's because you don't know about them or you're not educated on them yet. I think it would be really hard. And I honestly mean that. Like, I don't know how you can learn about the power that a mushroom has in terms of its health, but also just in the ground and the world, how they work, and not be amazed by them. Once you start seeing all of the health research on top of that, it's like, I don't know how you could ever look at it and be like, I don't want to get into this. So I was always into it, but I wasn't necessarily experiencing all of the health benefits of it. I don't think that I think maybe it was more in my head, or I just more thought like, well, you got to take them for longer, or I don't know. I was throwing them in my smoothies, and I wanted to be part of this world. I had done all this research on it. That is one thing about me. Like, I will research anything for hours on end in the health world. And so I was into it. But I was listening to, I think, if I remember correctly, it was Samantha Gladish's podcast.
Yeah, the wellness switch.
That's right. I don't even know if she had changed her name to Wellness Witch yet. Maybe she
Probably
had.
not.
She
Probably
had a
not.
different name, I think, on her podcast. And Brandy, it was you who was on there talking. And when I listen to a lot of podcasts, and that's always been one of my favorites. She has a great podcast. And when I listen to podcasts, I'm usually like doing laundry, or I'm in the kitchen putting dishes away, or making kids lunches, or walking the dog, or like whatever it is that I'm doing. But when you started talking that day, I remember just sitting there. I was folding laundry, and I didn't fold any of it. I just sat there like looking at my phone. Like, I couldn't get enough of what you were saying. And I think that we learn this in like content creation, and when you run and own a business, that stories connect with people.
Yeah.
And your story, like, I just remember thinking, oh my God, like, she had all of this happen to her. And then whoever is listening to this podcast has to go and listen to that episode, because that just instantly converted me. But then I remember you talking about how, you're making this decision between, should I stay on the pharmaceutical drug, when all of your doctors were telling you that you had to stay on it, and you making this decision that you're not going to do that. And I think as a mother of 3 myself, I know what my intuition would be as well. And I know, but I can't imagine having to make that decision when all of these medical doctors around you are saying, no, this is your only option.
Yeah.
And that right there had me hooked, because I was like, you believe in this so much. And not only did you believe in it, but you did it. I mean, I'm listening to you on the other end. It's true. Like, I will never forget your story. It is like so deeply, and I reached out to you. And so when I brought up at the beginning about how on my TikTok page, I don't promote a lot of brands, like, I promote Eversio left, right, and center. It's all over my Instagram. It's all over my TikTok. And I strongly believe in your products. And you see all the time with the people now that who are using my code, which, if you're listening, is Eunoia 15. And so you'll see it all the time. I share people's responses all the time. People are sleeping better. People are getting pregnant easier. People are replacing their ADHD medication, and they're taking lion's mane now. It's like one thing to hear it, one thing to see it, another thing to experience it for myself. I'm giving it to my own children. And then it's quite incredible, because it is not my product, it is your product, but I am sharing your message. And I feel the love and the power of the mushrooms from thousands of people in North America. And all I wish and hope is that you guys will hurry up and start shipping worldwide, because I think that everybody should have the chance to get in on them. I love them so, so, so much.
Okay. Which noted, and we talk about it. We get requests all the time. They're probably your followers. Do you ship to Ireland? Do you ship to Israel?
They're always asking. I know.
And I always think, like, we're these little Canadian girls. Like, we're a small family company, and
Yeah.
aren't there mushrooms? Like, is there not someone else out there doing this on the other side of the
Not
world?
like you guys. There's not.
It's sad. It is sad.
Yeah.
And we look at it all the time, like the logistics. We're also obsessed with sustainability. So there always is this shipping factor. And when we have to transport things a long way, and our mushrooms are already coming a long way to come to us, so that
Yeah.
we do all of the formulating and manufacturing, and all of the packaging is done right here in British Columbia. But these mushrooms don't grow here. Like, we're not going out and, getting the cordyceps, because we're not in the Tibetan plateau. We aren't able to get what we need in order to create the premium product we're creating from here. So we are sourcing that from where they can be grown in the DDAO philosophy. This is coming from Asia. To ship them back to Asia as an end product seems insane to me.
It does.
I get asked for it all the time. And I think that it's where we are going to see that. I think we are going to see that we are one, right? We are one world, and we have to stop thinking about ourselves as we're this country and they're that country, and this has to be different. We have to find a way where we could share good things that come with knowledge, come with the education, come with the heart, come with the quality and find a way to get them to people who need them in a sustainable way. So we're working on it. It means we have friends all over the world now, and we have to get them doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So I love that you're explaining that. When you say, so this is super controversial, you just said, I give them to my kids.
Yeah.
No, I give them to my kids, but I have
Yeah.
teenagers now and they can make their own decisions. We, of course, with Health Canada, have to put on the label that these products are only regulated for people 18 years and older. And that's because of the lack of research. But we follow the research. And there are human clinical trials now out. There was a study, I think it was 2021 in Colombia, where they did research with reishi mushroom extract, specifically looking at the beta glucans in reishi extract for children aged 3 to 5, your kids, preschool aged kids. So we're putting this extract in a yogurt tube and giving it to these preschoolers to see how it would affect their immune system, to see how it would affect them, their resilience in that community, that population that is often quite sick. You have kids that are, in those younger years, bringing their little virus vectors, right? They're just circulating it through. And it seems like there's always a drippy nose in the house when you have kids that age.
Yeah.
So this is a population that would be very interesting to look at immunity. And the study was amazing. And the study showed like a 95% increase in immune strength in these little 3 to 5-year-olds just by adding reishi to their yogurt. Why are we in North America so afraid? I know the answer in my mind.
Yeah.
I was so afraid.
Yes.
But I love that you're not afraid and that you have a place where you can talk about it. We can't say it, right? I can't come on here and say without worrying that I'm putting my company at risk.
Right.
But I think, hearing from you that you do give them to your kids, that you do include them in your life, that you do offer them to your clients, because everybody's, going to use them in a different way for their benefit is such a beautiful thing to hear. So tell us a little bit more about you in that way. So you have 3 kids, correct?
Yeah.
And you're a wife, and you have this booming business. You're running this successful business, and you still manage, I know, to get dinner on the table every night because you watch the meal prep and do that. I see it. And you have 2 fur babies. That's right. You're a dog lover, like we both are. What is the secret, Chloe? Like, I see you running in the morning and doing all of the things. What is it? Tell us. Give people the secret. Like, it's not one thing, I know, but tell us how you do it.
I think this is the $1 million question. And I think my answer to this changes, it fluctuates throughout the year. But the first and foremost, thing that comes to my mind right off the bat is that you have to learn how to juggle everything that's going on, and you can't just leave it up to chance. So I know about myself that I need to work out first thing in the morning, and it has to be before my kids are awake. And if I do that, then I've instantly taken power and charge of my whole entire day. It's going to be a good one. Yeah, definitely. I've got my endorphins going. I've got dopamine going. I feel good. I've had a shower. I've done all these things before my kids have even gotten out of bed. Otherwise, I'm waking up at the same time as them. We're all grumpy. We're all groggy. I have to get to breakfast. I don't like that. So that is a non-negotiable for me. As much as it is for my physical health, I would say it's more for my mental health. So that's really important to me. So I will either cycle. I usually cycle every other day, and then I run every other day, and then I do 3 days a week of strength training, and that's what's good for me. Sometimes if I need a break, I'll switch it up and do yoga or something, but I am waking up early and working out. Second thing is meal planning. I have absolutely no idea how anybody could make it through life without meal planning. It doesn't always look as thought out as it is on my Instagram. If you watch my Instagram, you'll see that sometimes I do big meal prep videos. And so often I will do those big meal preps, but sometimes I don't have time for that. My kids I think we have sports every single day of the week after school, except for Fridays. So I don't always have time to do all of that, especially with all the video and editing on top of it. And so on those weeks, I'm just making a big batch of rice or a big batch of quinoa. And then I'll go to Costco and get our meat, and I'm making all the meat. I'm not freezing any of it. It's prepped. And then that way I have chicken or ground beef or ground turkey or whatever that I can throw into, I don't know, the rice or mix it up with vegetables or whatever. So it might not be an entire meal that I make, but all of the things that we would be eating throughout the week. There's big batches of it in the fridge. And then I think the third thing would just be, I think it's like I use Notion on my computer. It's an app, but planning out the week. And so in those mornings, like right after my workout, I sit down at the computer, I look at what I have to do each day. And then I'm kind of making a mental note, just checking it off. If it's not done at the end of the day, then it goes to the first thing to do the next day. And so it's a good old fashioned to-do list.
Like, I'm just thinking about what I used to say to kids in my class, that you're doing it. It's the saying. I think I had it on the wall at one point. If you fail to plan, you can plan to fail.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
It's a simple
Yeah.
thing. Like, it's a simple, like, yeah, we all know that, but how many are doing it? And you're living it. And then you're
Yes.
showing you're showing a million people that you're actually living it and it's
Doing
working for you.
it. Yeah.
And I think we are all missing one of those things
Mhm.
at some point in our life when we fall
Yeah.
off. And when we can put that
Yes.
one thing back in. For me, it's meal planning. It's September as we're recording this right
Yeah.
now. Back to school and back to routines are, that's change for us, and change can be
Yeah.
hard. Good things always come from it. And it's recognizing, for me, it is the meal planning piece that's difficult. Everybody in our family eats differently. We don't have one diet that we're following at any given time. We have a competitive athlete in the family that lives, hours and hours at a dance studio, after hours and hours at school, and trying to get healthy things into people requires planning, people. There is no shortcut. You've got to look at it ahead of time. You've got to attack it with some forethought, when that forethought is coming from a place of, to me, rest and stillness and a chance to not be in panic and doing it, because that's when we make the bad choices. So, okay, so movement, it is movement in the morning. It is having a plan for your meals in there.
Yeah.
And if you can get those two things down,
You're gold.
those are game changers.
Yeah.
Those are game changers. I know you also are really careful about your sleep, and you talk about that here and there. And that is not easy when you've got 3 kids and 2 dogs and a house full of that. But do you have a sleep secret? Do you have a sleep tip?
Well, in all of my videos, you'll hear me say that reishi is my holy grail supplement. Like, if I can only pick one, it's reishi. Reishi does not, if you've never taken reishi before, it's not going to make you sleepy. It doesn't make you fall asleep. And I don't think it makes you tired. Like, I wouldn't take reishi and feel tired, but it does do a really good job of supporting your nervous system while you, like, once you've fallen asleep. And so it'll keep you in that deep sleep. So I'm not tossing and turning. I'm not like taking the comforter off and putting it back on. I can just describe it as like, once I fall asleep, I just wake up in the morning and I'm ready to go. I've had a really good restful sleep. And I can see that in like my Apple Watch data too. And then I give reishi to my kids as well. I notice a big improvement in their sleep. One of my children it's getting better, but she has some anxiety around school. And so reishi always helps. Like, I notice an immediate difference when I give her reishi at night. And then the kids don't take it every single night the way I do, but like, if I forgot to take it, I'll jump out of bed to go take it. I'm not going to bed without it.
I wasn't expecting you to say mushrooms. I just thought you were going to give the standard.
No.
People, you must get between 7 and 9 hours. Like,
no,
I wasn't even expecting reishi, but you're so right.
Yeah.
When we think of like, we know how much we're supposed to get, but it's not as easy as like, oh, I'll just get 7 hours sleep tonight and it'll magically happen for me. Again, you're planning how you're going to make sure you're getting.
And I think it's funny because for me, like, what I care deeply about, like, the quality of my workouts. And I am someone I'm a big Peloton fan. So I'm looking at my stats on there and my stats on my watch and my stats on my running app. And I can see if I don't have a good sleep, like, my workout's not going to be that great the next day. So for me, it's like, you better go to sleep right now, because I need the full 8 hours so that I can wake up and have the good workout. And I know that workout sets the entire tone for my day. Like, I have to have a good workout in the morning. Otherwise, I'm just not super happy with myself or my kids.
Me workout.
Yeah.
I would just meditate and do yoga every single day.
I'm a
menopausal woman, and I know, but I got to lift those weights.
I was just going to say strength training. Yeah.
And I got some cardio here and there. So thank goodness I have somebody in my life. So that's another thing, is finding an accountability partner. And you are that for so many people that don't have a real someone that like they get to work with every day
Yeah.
as a neighbor or a friend.
Yeah.
That accountability partner that's like the inspirational. Chloe's getting up before her kids and running. She's a real human doing it. If she can do it, I can do it. Luckily, Desiree knocks on my door at 6:30 and says, "Get up, we're lifting weights. Leg day, let's go." We're both sitting here with very tight hamstrings today.
It's actually it's actually funny that you say that, because I think that one day it would be fun to work out with somebody or to join a run club or to have someone to do that stuff with. But for me right now, I look at, and I'm just saying this for the people who are out there listening to this who don't have someone to work out with, or they don't have a gym to go
So
to or
many
whatever.
people, most
Yeah. I look at this, and it kind of is what you were just saying about the meal prep too. I made a video on this one, so you'll hear me saying it there too. But I view all of these things as a gift to myself. Like that might sound so selfish, but it's like,
No.
I'm going to clean the kitchen tonight because I don't want to wake up in the morning to a messy one.
Yes.
I'm going to bed early tonight because I don't want to be grumpy tomorrow. I'm doing this workout right now, even if I'd rather sleep for an extra hour, because I know that this makes my day better. So
Which
I
makes
feel
your
like,
kids stay better. And
yes,
your
it
kids
just
stay better.
everything.
It's a gift
Yeah.
for
Selfishly
future
Yeah.
unselfish when you are, and I think
Yeah.
what you're saying is so, for so many people, they do think self-love is so selfish. And
Yeah.
it's so the opposite when you
Yes.
do put yourself first. And I think as women, this is the
Yeah.
hardest thing. This is the hardest thing. When you become more selfish, then you can show up for all of the other things in your
Yeah.
life that make everyone you love have a better life. But you have
Totally.
to put yourself first at some point if you're ever going to get there. So exactly what
Absolutely.
you're saying. When you show up, when you wake up and you're not grumpy, that is not just a gift of love to you. That's
Yeah.
a gift of love to
The
those
whole
kids.
family feels that.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then the other thing I was going to quickly add on to that too is, if you don't have someone to work out with, like I actually don't want someone to work out with right now. And that's because I am with people all day long. From the minute my kids wake up, I'm doing the whole morning routine. I take them to school. I am in meetings all day. I am filming, like I'm doing whatever it is. And then I pick the kids up and I see all the moms at school, which I love doing. But I just mean, like, I am with people
day.
all day. That is the 1 hour that I can put whatever I want in my ears. I can listen to it as loud as I want. It's whatever mood I'm in, and no one is interrupting me. And I know that no one is going to interrupt me because everyone else is sleeping. So, right? Like the people,
Yes,
no
you
one's
and the rising
emailing me at
sun.
that time. Exactly. And so I love that hour. If I miss out on that hour, I'm really upset about it that day because of the fact that, like, all of those things come together to set the tone for the day. So I think looking at it as like, this is a gift I'm giving myself. It's not even like you have to wait 6 months for it to pay off. Like, we're not looking for a 50-pound weight loss goal. It's going to happen way down the road. It pays off that day. It pays off that morning. It pays off the second your whole household is up and awake and you've had a good breakfast and now you're out and loving life and you're friendly to people, and like the payoffs
And then
are
you can sleep at
immediate.
night because you're starting
Exactly.
that cycle.
Yes.
You're getting that sunshine
Yeah.
into your eyes first thing in the morning, setting
Yeah.
the circadian rhythm. It's just win, win, win.
Win, win, win. Can't lose.
Can't lose. I love that. Okay,
Yeah.
I have 2 questions for you. My first question right now is, what is your current mushroom stack
Oh, yeah.
throughout the day?
Oh, good question. Okay. This sort of changes a little bit every day, but the non-negotiables, I always wake up in the morning and take 2 cordyceps, and I take those because they give me energy. I use them as like a pre-workout, so I take them before my own workout. I come home from that and I make a smoothie and I put the Awaken blend in my smoothie, and then
3
on
mushroom
top
blend, Chloe. You have to.
3 mushroom blend.
You're just like everyone
She's the
around
OG.
here.
She's
Nobody
the
will
OG.
say it. We
I
all take. I'm the only one in the office. that
3
calls it a 3
mushroom.
mushroom blend.
It's like the sweet jar. We said the Awaken
Ah.
fan. Okay.
Oh no.
Thank you,
I like
Helen.
calling it that.
People.
Okay.
They will not awaken by taking this blend because awaken.
Oh.
See,
It was such a good name. It's forever going to be that for me. But okay,
we're
fine.
with you. We're with you.
The 3 mushroom blend, the yellow one. Actually, that was one of the first Eversio videos I ever did that
That's right.
went wild. So many people are taking that now. Anyway, so I put that one into my smoothie, and then I also take 2 cups of Defend Now, which is turkey tail. For anyone who is listening, that is like the one that I always recommend with gut health clients. Whether it's candida, whether it's SIBO, whether it's constipation, like that is such a good one for gut health. So I always take that. Also really good for immune system. So that one I also give to my kids. That goes into their smoothie. And then I take lion's mane. And then I don't really take
You're
anything.
taking them all, Chloe.
I know. And then I don't really take anything throughout the rest of the day until I take tremella, if I remember. Most days I try, but I'm kind of not like a supplement afternoon person. So if I remember, I that's when I take that. And then I always take reishi before bed. So yeah, I take lots.
You're finding you're gonna get all of them in at some point. And
Oh yeah.
so do you just keep the jars all over your house?
Well, I have some here. Most of them are, yeah, no, most of them are upstairs in the kitchen and
Yeah.
they're sitting right beside my blender, which my blender gets used every single solitary day of the year. I don't care what day it is. I don't care what holiday it is. I don't care. Like, I'm having a smoothie because that's where I get most of my supplements. And I know that I'm getting my 30 grams of protein in. That just also sets my day. So they're all right there with that. And yeah, I actually, believe it or not, don't take very many supplements. I know I just listed a lot of mushrooms. But
We don't even
aside
think
from
of them as supplements is the thing.
no, I don't
Food.
either really. Yeah. So aside from that, I'm really just taking an omega and a vitamin D. Sometimes I'll throw collagen in, but yeah, when people think about like me being a nutritionist, they're like, well, what supplements are you taking? And I don't take that many.
But you don't need them because you're getting all of the things you
Yeah.
need either from nature by being
Yeah.
outside or connectedness or from the
Yeah.
food that you eat. And that to me should be the goal. When I first saw an ND in the beginning of my health journey, I was taking things that I had heard or read about. And
Yeah.
her goal was to get me off of everything and get me
Yeah.
just down to mushrooms, which
Yeah.
like you, I'm putting them in my food most of the time or
Yeah.
taking a capsule. But I think that should be our goal, to not have
Yeah.
to have this life where we're taking 100 supplements every day in order to thrive. We want to get our
Yeah.
body to a place where it can absorb things from a good balanced diet that we're eating that is right for us.
Agreed.
I was actually working with someone in the music industry, and she had a lot of supplements, like expensive. She had been working with all these doctors in LA. She had these she could open a store with all the supplements that she had. And we had that conversation and I was like, I want you off all but three. Like if we're gonna do this, let's just see what happens. And she didn't like it very much at first. Like she was open about it. But I kind of said to her, I was like, if we're gonna do this, then we can't be doing this with a million different ways. We have to pick one. Let's just try. And I actually have a screenshot of her email in one of my email funnels because she had sent me a text message after, just being like, I totally didn't expect this to work. I'm feeling better than ever. I don't even know what these were doing. Should I just throw them all out? It's like, I don't know what you're going to do with them. Maybe they'll come in handy later. Let's just keep doing what we're doing. But yeah, over supplementing is not the answer. And I think it's so important that you just said what you just said, Brandy, because they're mushrooms I don't consider as supplements either. I know they come in like a pretty little jar, but they are food. So it's okay to take lots of them. You're not, they work synergistically with each other, right? It's okay.
I totally
Yeah.
agree. So we have a tagline, as you know, and it says a mushroom for every moment. What does that mean to you?
Oh, good questions. Well, I love this tagline, and I use this tagline in lots of my videos. I think it's a really good kind of little summary of how versatile mushrooms are and how there quite literally is a mushroom for every moment. Now, for me, I always think of mushrooms in terms of symptoms. I think it's because of my line of work and the fact that I'm working with clients. And so I always think of, what does your body need right now as opposed to like what moment are you living in? I think, if you're feeling stressed, then you can take reishi. If you need energy, you can take cordyceps. If your immune system needs some extra support or you're feeling like you're getting sick or you are sick, you can take chaga. If you want to take Botox, but you don't want to take Botox, you can take tremolo and look like you did. Or if you do get Botox, you can take tremolo too, right? There's just so many different mushrooms that can kind of go with any symptom that you think of. And the most important thing that I think I want to say here is that I'm not just throwing out names. There is so much research that has been done on each symptom, whether, if it's supporting cancer. And I just did a video on this that got taken down, I think, because I said that turkey tail can support cancer. I never said it gets rid of it. I never said, right. I know. And this is always a risk with posting stuff like this on TikTok. But I think whenever you see, anything on TikTok or online, go and look at the research. And I tell my audience that all the time. I am just a message that is showing up on your screen. Take what I'm telling you and go research it yourself. And I'm not scared to tell people that because there is an incredible amount of it. You guys do a really good job too of putting the research on your website. But if you want to look,
also, we've always followed the Health Canada guidelines,
yeah,
but now that we're also available in the US and we have an FDA compliant US label, so we actually have Canadian product and US product, same product inside, but two very different regulatory bodies that have different expectations. And when we started dealing with the FDA, our website is an extension of our label in their eyes, and we really had to edit our website. So just recently, if you go and look, the website looks really different, and that's why, because we were told we can't say the truth. We literally had to take research off of our website, and to me, that's not okay, right? To me,
it's frustrating.
Speech. It is frustrating, and it is censorship, and it's censorship of our health, and that is not where we want the world to go, and it's not where I believe the world is going. So I think that that's short term, and I love that in your messages on TikTok, on Instagram, you are not afraid to put that research right there on the screen. I had to ask, how is she doing that? What's the green screen? This is amazing. It's one of my favorite things that you don't just say there was a study. You show the study so that people don't have to question, and that they can go find that study and they can read it and they can decide if it's for them. So thank you for not buying into the whole censorship thing and taking those risks that it's not always easy for a company on our end to take it, because we want to be able to keep providing what people want. And it takes all of the voices sharing the same message in order to be able to get through some of the red tape some of the time.
Definitely.
So thank you so much for that. Tell us, how can people be in touch with you? How can they find you? If they're looking for help with gut health, if they're looking for hormone health, if they're just looking for inspiration on how to be an incredible mom, which you are, where can people find you?
Okay, cool. So my website, I guess for starters, is www.eunoiawellnessco.com. And that's
You better spell it.
Yes, I will. EUNOIA wellnessco.com. Really quickly, if you're wondering why that is my business name, it is a Greek word. I wanted a word that nobody else had, and it means a pure balanced mind and body. Like the connection between the two are balanced. Something that's kind of funny about that is I get a bunch of emails all the time and people are like, "Hey, Eunoia," and I'm like, "No, that's not my name. My name is Chloe."
Oh, but what a beautiful name it would be.
It is a beautiful name. I really do like the name. So yes, my business is Eunoia Wellness Co. You can find me on Instagram at Eunoia Wellness Co. _ or on TikTok with the same name at Eunoia Wellness Co. _ And then I do run a gut transformation course. It is the complete gut transformation program. So it takes you from start to finish. And I'm in the private Facebook group supporting you along the way. So if you have any questions, I'm always there to answer them. Sometimes we have on video chats. We do live video calls in there. Or you can email me, Chloe at eunoiawellnessco.com.
Awesome. And one of the first things when you reached out to us because you'd heard that podcast and we were like, who is this lovely girl?
Yeah.
And the first thing I did was get your free meal plan.
Oh, good.
So because I was somebody that I'd become the anti-inflammatory queen, right? I wanted everything. And you offer a free, I believe it was a 5-day anti-inflammatory
It's still there.
plan.
Yes.
Still there.
It's
so
awesome.
people go
Still
get
there.
it. I mean, it's
awesome.
free. Who doesn't love free things? And who doesn't need an anti-inflammatory meal inspiration? So if that's a great way for people to start with you, I highly recommend it. And it certainly got me on my way with I was very resistant to meal planning, but you were an inspiration for that.
Oh, good.
With
I'm so glad.
we have to say goodbye, although we would talk to you all day. And please get on a plane and get out here and visit us.
I would
Such
love
mushrooms
to.
show you.
Yes, I would love to.
It was
It'd be so much
great
fun.
to chat with you today. Say hi to all the kids, and we hope you have a lovely weekend.
Will do. Thanks so much for having me, guys. This was so much fun. Maybe we'll do it again.
Welcome. Yes, let's do it.
Okay. Sounds good.
It'll be coming.
Okay.
All right, audience.
Perfect.
Bye, everyone. Hope you learned something new, and have a lovely weekend until we see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
We hope you learned something new here today. If anyone you know could benefit from what we shared in this episode, please share it with them. And if you're interested in adding mushroom wellness to your life, you can use code PODCAST15 to save 15% on your entire order at EversioWellness.com.
If you haven't yet left us a rating and review, subscribed to this podcast, or followed our social media accounts listed in the show notes, we would so appreciate that. Thank you so much for sharing this moment with us. Until next time, be well.